So we're going to start with The Nation. I will break all barriers for investors, Tinubu assures. CBN to clear $10 billion forex backlog in 2 weeks. Otedola extols Sanwo-Olu on light blue rail take-off. Okay, which story are we taking The Nation starting with?
I can start with the Central Bank of Nigeria,
okay.
And they said they are working with commercial banks to clear $10 billion foreign exchange backlog within the next 2 weeks. This was said yesterday by the acting governor for Lashodun Shonubi, and he said that the backlogs will be cleared through different structures within the forex market. He went ahead to say that the central bank controls, the banks actually control 75% of the forex transactions, and they will play a significant role in seeing that the backlogs are cleared. And the backlog estimated about $10 billion US. This comes from requests from manufacturers and importers purchasing raw materials, people who want to pay their children's school fees, people who want to do their medical bills abroad, travelers, sourcing for business travel allowances, that's the BTAs, and also the personal travel allowances, the PTAs. So this, they said they've been working hand in hand to see how they can help people. I remember when we were about to travel, we could not even get the PTA from the banks because there was no forex. But this is like a welcome development. Let's see how, especially for businesses that are sourcing directly from the black market right now. They are not, prices of things have really increased because they can get from the official rate.
All right, let me take a story. Billionaire businessman Femi Otedola yesterday extolled the Lagos state governor over the takeoff of the blue light rail. According to him, excuse me, he says this should gladden the hearts of Lagosians. This is because the idea of governance is to build world-class infrastructure. He said that the governor is showing uncommon leadership, focus, determination, willpower to deliver even in the face of very limited resources available to him. He has remained undeterred and unwavering. This particular rail, even though it took a long time, he has shown tremendous courage that he's capable of doing the heavy lifting. So many Nigerians are obviously very proud of the takeoff of the light blue rail. All right. All right, moving on. Let's.
Okay, so I have this. Our president was in India. And New Delhi, and he had a meeting with the CEO of Hinduja Group of Companies. And at the meeting, he spoke. He says that all barriers to investment will be dismantled by his administration to rekindle confidence in Nigeria's economy. The Hinduja Group of Companies is a conglomerate with a total asset portfolio exceeding $100 billion. And then the meeting, the CEO proposed, at the meeting, the CEO proposed an automobile manufacturing deal with Nigeria. And, our president was at that meeting also with our ministers of finance, Wale Edun, trade and industry, Dr. Doris Uzoka, Aniti, and then the foreign affairs ambassador. And while he spoke, he was like, quickly, based on this, go ahead with what is needed for them to make it easy for them to come into Nigeria. And the billionaire said that he's tried to do business here in Nigeria before, where bureaucracy stalled it for over a year, but that he believes in our president. He knows of him. He knows of the work he's done in Lagos State and how he understood challenges and he fixed it. So he's quite confident, that we'll work together. So this is a positive thing. What our president is trying to attract investors back into Nigeria. And if there's a manufacturing plant like that, it will mean more jobs for Nigerians as well. So.
Okay, Tokwe.
So, Festus Keyamo speaking concerning the fact that in 12 months' time we're going to have Abuja would have a second runway. It will be ready. He said this particular project has been having controversies for a long time. Since Obasanjo's time, they've been expecting, even when they had to fix the current runway, everybody that was coming to Abuja had to use the Kaduna airport because there was no alternative. So he said that he has had a meeting with the FCT ministers. We're happy to hear that our ministers are working hand in hand, and that the fund had actually been paid to the for them to move the obstacles out of the way, resettle people that had settled on where the path for the second Abuja runway, and now they're already disbursing money to them and then they would clear, and in 12 months we should have the second runway. They say it will be a gateway to Abuja, and it will be extremely important that they already have all the agencies that are going to work. The National Assembly, the presidency have already said they will give them the support needed. That's giving the aviation minister the support needed to deliver this project in 12 months. So I think
okay, moving on quickly now to the Punch. Presidential poll, heavy security as tribunal decides Atiku and Obi's petitions against Tinubu today. Dollar debts, CBN repays banks next week. Naira may rebound. Fund regional rail projects, FG tells governors. World Bank delays 8.6 billion naira loan to Nigeria, says report. Oshodi bus terminal decaying, motorists lament. Violence rocks Lagos community as task force officials kill driver. And Lagos Castina Sokoto workers shun NLC strike grounds Abuja state. Okay, which story starting with in Punch?
There's a picture story here showing the multi-million naira Oshodi bus terminal 1 in Lagos State, and people have been lamenting the poor condition of the infrastructure in the facility. I remember when I saw that place, it was beautiful, but with the picture in front of the papers right now, it's not looking good at all. So according to the story, it said the terminal is divided into 1, 2, and 3 for interstate transportation for destinations like southwest, southeast, and northern states. And they have different facilities inside those terminals. They have loading bays, ticketing stands, driver lounges, parking areas, restrooms, and many others. And they had spent about $70 million to put that project. However, it's showing that a lot of the facilities are in deplorable states. There's no proper management. The drivers are not able to use the toilets for fear of infection. It is so bad that drivers and people who work there passengers are actually complaining. And the advice is that the government needs to fix this. They shouldn't have even let it get to this point. It was something that was done just a few years ago. They should fix this. If they need to, get a company, maybe a management company. No, it's wickedness. This is spent money to do.
Yeah, but
why don't you manage it?
Use optimally because it's too large for...
Yes.
It's too large for who? For government?
No, I'm saying that the buses are not really using it. Nobody is really going through those bus stops. They are still at the ground. Nobody's really using those terminals. So it's probably dilapidating due to abandonment, lack of use. So it's not like it's
which drivers and passengers did they interview? Because Punch went there to carry out the interview.
Okay, let me take the story from the Minister of Transportation, Saidu Alkali, said that the government should partner with each other to develop their transportation infrastructure, as it would go a long way in addressing concerns in the sector. He was saying this at the 2023 Inauguration and Orientation Summit at the Nigeria Transportation Commission's Forum. He was specifically saying that teamwork, pair mechanism is a great idea, and that is why the forum excites him to be saying this, said that they need to remove individualism and leverage their corporate strength together. So all the various states within the different regions should put resources together to build a real interstate rail project that would help and ease transportation. States that cannot pay their salaries, but I hope that they're able to get the funds. It's a good idea, though.
Can I take the story about the NLC strike? So NLC had declared a 2-day strike that was supposed to be yesterday and today, but the news is getting to us from Punch is that Lagos, Castina, Sokoto didn't comply. They said the banks were thought to join, but the banks didn't join as well. However, they grounded all activities within Abuja. The FCT was 100% compliant. They also said that Delta, Bayelsa, Ogun did not comply with NLC's directive to shut down activities in commencement of the strike. Some parts of Lagos observed, majorly the Nigerian Port Authority, but aviation went ahead with their activities. The strike is supposed to be a preparation for the shutdown, which they say would start in 21 days. And the decision was taken based on the National Executive Council meeting that held last Friday. We're hoping that the NLC leadership would sit down with the Labour Minister and we're able to resolve this issue before we have like a total shutdown of the economy.
Moving on now to Vanguard. Strike halts activities in rivers, Osun, Edo, Kano, Kaduna, and Cross River. Despite slight improvement, reign of terror continues. PEPT, Justice Odili's pre-judgment remarks is worrisome, says LP. Few subsidy interests fighting us, says Shetima. One killed as task force truck drivers tout clash at mile 2. Our founding fathers won independence, failed to build a nation, says Jonathan. NNPP crisis deepens as faction expels Kwankwanso. APC's past rejection of fuel subsidy removal was political. Presidential poll, the 4 men, women who will decide the fate of Tinubu article today. Okay, which story are we starting with in Vanguard?
So I'll take NEC, that's the National Executive Committee of New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. As we know, I think we've all heard that they had expelled its presidential candidate, Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso. They said this was because he had refused to appear before the party's disciplinary committee on allegations of mismanagement of funds and also anti-party activities. They had, first of all, he had been suspended by the party's leadership. I think this was August 29th. And then the disciplinary committee was set up. When they invited Kwankwaso to defend the allegations against him, he didn't appear. And they had set a warning that if he didn't appear, it would mean expulsion from the party. And that's what they went ahead to do. But we also have other factions of the party saying that those who expelled Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso had no constitutional authority to do so. And it's talking about factionalized divisions within the party. And also they're saying that this, the crisis within the NNPC started when the National Working Committee of the party that are loyal to Kwankwaso announced the suspension of the founder of the party, Dr. Boniface Aniebonam, and the National Public Secretary. So obviously, since there are 2 factions and they are warring between them, so we'll see how they resolve that.
So protesting truck drivers yesterday barricaded Yoshodi Apapa Expressway, Lagos, over the alleged killing of one of their colleagues by a policeman attached to the Lagos State Task Force. So according to the story, they said the task force arrived at the mile 2 end of the expressway at the early hours of yesterday to impound trucks that usually would block, the center of the road. And so they found this Toyib Girisi, who was parked in front, blocking others, and they tried to get him out, tow his vehicle out, which he refused. They got into a struggle, and one of the policemen shot him from behind. According to eyewitnesses, they said this is a very young man. He's 25 years of age, and he just rented an apartment recently. He was just loading, to go somewhere else, and they said his mother just left that vicinity not long ago before this accident happened. So the defunct Council of Maritime Transport Unions and Association, COMTWA, condemned the killing of the truck driver, saying that the government has to do something about this. They want proper investigation. They want the people who have done this to be punished. They want to give a conducive environment to everyone who is working. Your rights must be protected, and we cannot keep having this sort of shootings.
All right, so our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, was speaking at the book launch and 60th birthday anniversary of Professor Udenta, and part of one of his speech was saying that our founding fathers, they deserve the credit for the struggle for independence, but they failed woefully in they did a poor job at nation building. According to him, he said that, he said, I'm not blaming our founding fathers, but they failed to integrate us into a proper nation. They operated as individuals. Have we been able to convince ourselves whether we're a state or a nation? If we're a country and a state, how do we become a nation? He said, according to him, he felt that most of our founding fathers were very individualistic. They focused on ethnic politics rather than building us together as a nation. That he's not blaming them, but the truth is that there's a lot of room for us to become a proper nation. There's no sense of commitment to integrate Nigeria into an entity that you can say, yes, it is a nation with core values, common philosophy, and the people with the patriotic sense of thinking. So, interesting perspective. I'd really like to even read the book.
On the 1st of September 2023, a very young cadet, Sulaiman Jeka, lost his life at the Nigerian Police Academy in Kano State. His death has led the Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetoku, to set up a 7-man committee to investigate over the next 4 days what led to his death. Of course, the acting IG commiserated with the family, but felt that it was a very promising young man who suddenly lost his life, and they felt, aside from commiserating with the family, they needed to get into what would have led to the cause of death, and they are assuring the family that they would get to the bottom of it. They have put together a panel that is being head by the Force Criminal Investigation Department head in Abuja, Abiodun Alabi. He has a mandate to conduct an impartial investigation into all the circumstances surrounding the cadet's death, and we're hoping that this justice would bring comfort to the family of the young man.
That was really a sad story. If you're seeing the picture, such a young boy, and there are allegations of starvation, they are not being fed properly, so it's important that the family gets
impartial.
some sort of, I don't even know if they can ever get closure from that tragic loss.
Moving on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Tight security as court delivers presidential election verdict today. IGP orders probe of cadet officer's death at police academy. Ekiti residents cry for help as gunmen abduct 4 farmers 5 days after killing one. One killed as truck drivers task force clash in Lagos. We played mayor politics with protests against fuel subsidy removal in 2012, says Fayemi. FG cancels Intel's pilotage monopoly, engages 4 new firms. And NLC strike banks, court sports officers shut down. You guys not notice this is our new minister. Paid, I think, about 3 or 4 papers for the front page. This is the minister that was saying that Minister of Interior that was speaking very confidently against how we Nigerians are made to stay months before getting their passports, and he was well praised and celebrated, and he's celebrating again 100 days of the president on front page. So that costs a lot of money.
Costs a lot of money.
A lot of money. So we're watching you, Mr. Tunji Ojo.
Yeah, we will not judge you based on this one. We're judging you in our mind, but we'll not say anything.
We're keeping it down.
We're just holding it.
Yeah.
We've seen it and we have kept it. Okay.
In our book.
All right.
Yeah, so ahead of today's judgment in the 3 petitions challenging the declaration of Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the February 25th presidential election, they said some television stations have set up sharp to broadcast, live. They set up as early as 3 p.m. yesterday. And they said they also ensured security and orderliness of the proceedings so that the security is so tight that 30 minutes distance from the court is well secured already. And they said about 50 media organizations, both Nigerian and foreign, have submitted their names to the Court of Appeal for fresh accreditation and permission to access the courtroom and its premises today. So everybody's looking forward to it, and they're asking that Nigerians just calm down, take it easy. Let's see how, since it will be broadcast, we'll see everything transparently and live.
Any other story in Tribune? Are we done?
I think this is in Ekiti. Yes, they said less than 5 days after the killing and kidnapping of some residents in Itakpa G Ekiti, Ikole local government area of Ekiti State, they said government have struck again in the community. They said that the victims were kidnapped on Monday evening. They were returning from farms a few days after one person was killed and 2 others were abducted by the gunmen who attacked. The Speaker for the State House of Assembly lamented the increasing attacks on the people in the local government area. It's calling on the state government to equip Amotekun Corps towards confronting these gunmen. Eyewitnesses said that the 4 victims had worked on a farm. So there's a commercial farm that belongs to a popular cleric in the community, and people would go there to farm. They were accosted on their way back. So I do, it's security situation. We talk about the north, you hear it in the southwest, it's just widespread, really. And where we have local vigilante groups that can help, we should equip them in a way that they're able to protect their communities.
So there's been a lot of controversy concerning NPA and Intel, the contract that they had. And now the federal government has cancelled Intel's pilotage monopoly. This was due to the fact that there was a record of $500 million loss in the past 3 years due to the inability to appoint substantive monitoring agents in the past. So the monopoly used to be managed by Intel's Nigerian Limited. There were controversies around how that contract was suspended because they said the NPA, if we recall, the NPA cancelled it, and the NPA boss that led to that cancellation was suspended by the minister at the point in time. But finally, in proper processing, the Bureau of Public Procurement has approved for new companies to carry this thing out in different ways. So the Lagos area is handled by the ICA Logistics Limited, while Warri area is handled by Pacific Silverlink. They broke it into different districts to cover the Lagos, Warri, Bonny, Port Harcourt, Ishasha, Calabar local government, Calabar piloted district as well. And all of this, they have a BPP certificate of no objection dated August 30. So there was due process followed. Nobody complained about it. And now there will no longer be monopoly. We're hoping this will bring in revenue.
Yes, fantastic. I'm happy that it's not one person. When we have too much monopoly, that's when there's lots of issues of corruption. But now we have more companies handling this monitoring. This is a good idea. Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, the only news Nigerians are talking about today is the tribunal. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think? What are your expectations? Join us in a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.